just didn't boost the vice president. I was just looking at my paths to victory. There's some other very narrow ones, some pretty obscure options here, but we are left with a total of 5 paths for her at this point.
If the vice president were to lose Wisconsin and that blue wall was pierced, which was going to be her easiest way to victory.
So let's take a closer look at election evening on CBS. In particular, this liberal hack, Margaret Brennan, who is the host of Face the Nation on Sunday mornings. She is obviously in the tank for Kamala, and all night, as the night develops, she looks like she's getting sick to her stomach. Her facial expressions are great. And, you know, they're supposed to try to act objective. They can't help themselves. All night, they just keep letting it slip out that they're frustrated at what's happening. And it really comes to a head at the end of the night.
Yeah, and it seems that if you're a Donald Trump supporter, you're feeling very confident and encouraged. And if you're a Kamala Harris supporter, you're feeling a little worried at this particular time. Although we keep saying there's still a lot of votes to be counted. People say they still are holding out hope, even though at this particular time she seems to be underperforming in all the things that they thought she would do well. And I think people are trying to figure out what is happening to Kamala Harris's campaign at this particular point, even though people still have hope.
Well, I think the vote is still being counted in Pennsylvania.
We need to keep emphasizing that.
Yes, and we certainly don't know what's happening in Arizona or Nevada just yet, and
or
Michigan, Wisconsin. So the early states.
Look at Margaret's face here. She looks like she's feeling ready to throw up at this point.
The Harris campaign is still nauseously optimistic, but I bet they're getting a little sicker now as the night progresses.
There is this realignment, to pick up on what John was saying, that we are watching play out in terms of who's turning up to vote, but we are looking at a globe that is realigning too. There is a disorientation. There is, from the commander-in-chief question, you know, who is going to take office at a time when the world is watching this election tonight, to see who they will be dealing with, when they're looking at the largest land war in Europe underway, when they're looking at the expansion of that, they're looking at a Mideast on fire, they're looking at an aggressive China. And we are going to be digesting this as a planet when we wake up tomorrow morning to figure out what's next. A third of the world has had a female leader. This country has not. And tonight, this is also a test of whether a woman could be a commander-in-chief of this country, elected in a very short runway of an election against a man who has presented himself.
So there it is. It's not because she's the better candidate that she was rooting for Kamala. It's because she's a woman.
Despite what his national security advisors say, as about strength, as about he puts fear in other people, therefore you won't see that realignment or that threat around the world come to these shores. That's the package he's selling in his national security argument. And it's just something to chew on tonight as we wait to see who gets to 270. There are just some major tests that go, I think, beyond this moment when we talk about gender, when we talk about, you know, projections of power and America's role in the world.
He has told his supporters, we will fix it. We'll bring in a golden era.
I think we have to all take time to digest this. We're doing it in the moment, but I don't think we are all quite grasping the gravity of sending Donald Trump back to Washington with the word you used, Nora, a mandate. It's not just the man. It is a mandate. They have control in a significant way of Senate and possibly the House. We may not know that definitively for a little bit of time, but this is a really interesting message being sent by the electorate tonight. I think we have to all take time to digest this. We're doing it in the moment, but I don't think we are all quite grasping the gravity of sending Donald Trump back to Washington.